Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, hello, hello. I know a couple of you got notifications, so that's good.
Yeah, it's our first attempt at going live after a live last time that was, horrendous. Horrendous as far as allowing people in and bogging down.
Oh, good. There we go.
Sweetgrass, good to see you. It's been a long time.
Yes, it's so good to see you. So good. So I'm glad that that's working. I'm actually trying to pull up our video right now, and I can't find us, but I will. It'll show up in a moment. So I'm glad it's showing up for people. This is good. This is good.
All right. Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up too on the others.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's been so tough, and today is another cloudy, snowy day with, our internet is adequate for making videos, probably a little less than adequate for going live. But at the same time, it's amazing to be able to get internet out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, it is. It is. I mean, the technology is incredible. And there's hello, Christopher. Hello, hello. Greetings from Central Ohio. Well, greetings.
Yeah, so Columbus area, I would guess, perhaps.
Yeah, I would have. That's pretty cold there right now. What's the weather like there now?
Well, we're pretty cold too. I mean, I don't think we're going to be above freezing. And I see 11. It's showing 11 viewers. We know, obviously, we get hit with the sensor
Right.
thing.
Yes. So, yeah. So we should have people bleeding in. Let me just do a test on this. And that, if I got the right one, that sassy girl should be showing up.
57's not bad. I think we're right about freezing.
Yeah.
And snow should be starting to fall any minute again. Very gray skies out there.
Very gray skies. But, not all is gray. I mean, we're in interesting times. Very colorful times, might I say.
Welcome to Gemma. And it's cold and snowy in northwest Illinois as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much cold. Even our friends from Australia, she said it was cold over in Australia too. Miss Rosemary.
Yeah, Brandon from Wyoming. Yeah, I'm sure Wyoming's definitely chilly as well. We have been meaning to get up that way. Definitely want to do some exploring up through there.
Yeah, we were just talking about that last night. We kind of bounce around, and we were thinking about bouncing up north a little bit. That would be nice. Never been to Wyoming.
Yeah, Wyoming and Montana, and who knows, explore the whole area. Spartano Negative, good to see you. It's been a while.
And thank you, Spartano Negative. Oh, there's Deej 57, and there's Gary Hines. People are starting to step in now. I love it. This is great.
Yeah, 67 degrees in Texas. We'll take that. 54 Central Indiana. That sounds good too. Yeah, sounds good too. Yeah, we usually go back and forth between Arizona and southern Colorado. And so right now we're in the more northern area, and boy, it's chilly, but beautiful. It's a double-edged sword. I love to hike. We love to hike, and we both love hiking in the snow. But yeah, still kind of like that climate in Florida too.
Yeah, well, it's understandable. It's like the California climate. It's really nice. Although I did see someone said that California was cold today, which is surprising. Actually, San Diego, yeah, I guess that can get pretty cold there. I liked it inland a little bit. I lived in Sunnyvale, San Jose area, and that weather was always really, really nice.
Dan's getting heavy snow in central Michigan. Yeah, 50 is cold for San Diego, most definitely. And hello, 222 Mission.
Hello, 222 Mission. This is good. We got Dan and Lily B and Beth Brady. So glad to see you guys coming in.
And yeah, it's 50-ish in Pennsylvania. Queen Star Sophia,
Yay.
Good to see you. It's been a while. Hugs and kisses.
Yes, hi Queen Star. Hope you are doing well.
And good to see you, Beth, as well. before we get going with the messages from the Galactics. It's kind of like a two-part thing. We're going to be talking about what's going on as far as the geopolitical situation, but also talk about kind of the disclosure end of it as well. Everything is really, it's coming to a head. Our reality is changing. DG said no notification either. Well, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't really surprise me at all. And it just like right now it's showing 44. Usually we'll have 200-300 at least, and on Evolutionary we would have had, before everything happened, 500-700.
Yeah. So I mean, times are changing, definitely.
And we are trying to build Evolutionary up as more of a best places, and just bringing information and stats to everybody. And then eventually, what we're doing, homesteading, whenever we get situated somewhere. Although last night, share with you guys, it's interesting. Me and Cindy dream the same dreams all the time. We're so connected. I'm not surprised that the voice would be echoing. We were trying to correct it. We did like 20 tests and we kept adjusting things, but I'm not surprised at all. And again, this is part of why we don't go live that much, because we get so many issues. But then again, you don't want to let the bad guys win, at the same time. But last night we were both dreaming the same thing. And the dream was that we were in some sort of RV caravan, a group that were just kind of going around, from one place to another, kind of scavenging where you could and getting what supplies where you can and on the move. So I don't know, maybe we won't end up finding a spot to settle.
Well, I want a spot to settle, so I'm going to manifest that. We can keep having these strange dreams, but yeah, we're going to find a place to settle.
We're hoping to, but every place has its issues, and that's what we're sharing with you as we do more and more research ourselves. And I've been researching places for like 20 years, more than 20 years. And there is no perfect place. Every place has its issues. Like we're talking about, if you're in the West and you're going to face drought and wildfires. And, if you're in the East, then you might be facing floods, and just the fact that you're in more dense population with, certain things that might come knocking on our doors sometime. And thank you, Beth.
Thank you so much, Beth. We're thankful for you, too. We need every single one of you guys. Without you guys, there would be no us. So we are extremely grateful for everyone in the chat. And I think what I like about what we're doing on Evolutionary Energy Arts is we're finding best places for these times. So that's a little bit different. There's a lot of best places, but not necessarily do they always take into account the challenges we're in these days. And hello, David Lee.
Good to see you, David. Yeah, exactly. We have some that we subscribe to that we really thoroughly enjoy. But they're talking about best places in a yesterday point of view. Because as we know, the world has changed. And it's not going back to the same world. It's not going to be the same. And you're going to have to make your decisions, because some states, right now we're saying states, but in the future we might be talking about areas, or I don't even know what the word will be, territories. What are they going to use? And, FEMA has 10 territories, but I don't think it's going to be that way. I don't think we're getting broke up into the FEMA map. It's not what we're getting.
No, we're not getting that. It's more of a left, right, and kind of in the center type vision that's coming through. So, and timelines change, visions change all the time, but that's the one that keeps coming through, like left, right, and in the center, things breaking up, and they'll have different loopholes with different laws for different things, and depending on what your needs are, and depending on what your desires are, one place might be better for you than another. We're all extremely individual.
Yeah, and we see the comments, and again, even this family is not of one mind. Of course, we're all individuals, we're all unique, For some of us, environmental issues might be the absolute most important. For other people, it might be personal liberty. For other, it's going to be, perhaps what's the system doing to help me? And, for others, it might be tax issues because they have a bigger income and they're worried about, what states are going to be the most tax friendly. And, we're going to cover all those type of things as well.
Yeah, we're going to cover as much as we can, and feel free to throw out suggestions too. We're open to suggestions and curious what you guys think and what you guys would look for in these times when you're looking for a place to possibly relocate. And then there's also, sometimes we might be in a situation where we can't relocate, so we have to look around us and make the best of everything that's in front of us and just hold a vibration of gratitude wherever we are.
So Beth says she's blessed to live on hubby's family farm of 210 acres or all around us since 1870. That's gorgeous. What a great situation to be in.
Yeah.
That would be beautiful. Gary's talking about 11 mega regions, 6 to 7 million people inside. Would be around 77 million people inside the U.S. There's a lot of things that we've talked about, like DEA, GEL, and those numbers. And I think a lot of those things, including certain agendas, are coming to light now and seeming to make a lot more sense. We're in a time of rapid change. And again, for me, one of the most important things is what states or what areas are going to allow the most liberty so we could get as deep into this and hoping for that change, that positive change, that tide to swell in humanity's favor, the mass of humanity. And it is a matter of time. And there are external forces, that are pushing for this as well. And we've talked about that, and it's so interesting that now all of a sudden, you have that Israeli source, who was the head of their space program coming out and talking about the reality of the Galactic Federation. Be very, very aware that as par for the course, they will give us 90% truth, just so they could give us that 10% steering in the wrong direction. So, they're being forced to acknowledge things. And I was going to go into this second, but maybe we'll go into this first. And so one of the things Cindy's going to share, if she has her notes available, and she after the last session we had, we got more info. And so Cindy's going to share with you guys what's going on with the Galactics.
So we have some things coming up, some things right around the corner that our officials are trying to do, and then the Galactic Federation is trying to do. And it appears that the Galactic Federation, even though there's good, I don't want to call it a good bad paradigm, but there's beings that are more in our favor than perhaps other beings. And these beings are all actually coming together to make new treaties, to make new ways of life. And they're pushing to have disclosure. They want us to know. They know that if we know of them, or at least in an official way, where the masses know of them, humanity will rise up and humanity will become free. Where our government is pushing back and they're not wanting any freedom, they're not wanting any disclosure, just super tiny drip disclosure, which really means next to nothing,
And when you say our government, clarify, are you talking the United States government? Are you talking the UN, the world government? What are you talking?
I gotta say the world government, because with the Federation, we're dealing with everything as above, so below. So we're dealing with all of them. They don't want to lose the power, and they know that if humanity, if they're brought to our attention, they're going to lose complete control. So it's our world government's holding a lid on things right now when they're trying to open up and say, hey, we're here and we want to help you. We want to help you rise up. It's not being allowed at this time.
Officially. But at the same time, there are beings that are giving us a show.
Yes.
And that's part of, this slow trickle, which they want to just come right out and say, hey, we're here.
Yep.
Because that's going to change everything. Again, that whole illusion that we were under in the Western mindset, that the Earth is the center of the universe, everything revolves around us, there's really only us and God and angels and demons. It's not the case. There's all sorts of life out there. Mm-hmm. And it's very much so that it's typical. There's so much out there. There's so many different civilizations. There's all different types of species interacting. When we go to the Vedic point of view and they talk about hundreds of thousands of humanoid species alone, not including non-humanoid, they knew. Yeah. But again, that's not known out in the masses of the West because, the West is where the power has been. Mm-hmm. And the Western ways have conquered the world. As we've talked about, we're all living in America with a K, It's the society, and we see how they've used capitalism to draw everybody in. And when we talk about like the CCP, for instance, it's not communist. It's not communist. It's part of this whole. Truly, it's if you look at the definition of fascism, it has to do with corporations and state control, and this is where we're going. And so let me jump over here. And this is from a source that got really ostracized, and they really do a good job bringing things out. And this is exactly where we're going. So if you are dependent, there are so many people out there that depend on the government to stay alive, to buy their food, their housing, everything. Well, the government's totally good with that. Totally good with that, and that's what they want to head to. Even basic income is going to be something that's going to be rolled out for everybody. So it's going to be like, why wouldn't you want to, get paid for nothing, so to speak, and it's going to tempt a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't going to even. They're going to think it's wonderful, Oh, this is wonderful. What do I have to do? That's it. Oh, yeah. It's just a pinch, just a pinch, and there's going to be tons of people jumping on board for that. So as you see, the World Economic Forum was founded 50 years ago, and it's gained more and more prominence over the decades, become one of the leading platforms of futuristic thinking and planning. As a meeting place of the elite, the WF brings together the leaders of business and politics, along with a few selected individuals. The main thrust of the forum is global control. Free markets and individual choice do not stand as the top values, but state interventionism and collectivism. So individual liberty and private property are to disappear from the planet by 2030, according to the projections and the scenarios coming from the WEC. And they have a list there. Basically, the statements are that people aren't going to own anything. Goods are either free of charge or must be lent from the state. The U.S. is no longer going to be the leading superpower. There'll be a handful of countries that are going to dominate. Organs won't be transplanted, but they're going to be printed. Meat consumption will be minimized. Massive displacement of people will take place with billions of refugees. And that's been coming through to me in meditation and also in dreams. I see swarms of refugees moving from one place to another. To limit the emission of carbon dioxide, global price will be set at an exorbitant level. People can prepare to go to Mars and start a journey to find alien life. Western values will be tested to the breaking point. And, this is the scenario they see by 2030. So, we're almost in 2021. So this is what they're looking at for a 9-year projection.
Which is really amazing how open they are about it. But aren't they open with everything, through movies, through reports, or, through stories, they tell us what they're doing. And then, maybe they wait a time period so we'll forget, but then it happens again. It's this pre-programming, I guess is what they call it. And they're very good at it. And here we are, we're coming to some stuff which sounds totally unbelievable now, but they're going to integrate it and keep integrating it until it's accepted by the masses.
If you guys are okay with that, I'd like to just take a moment for us all that are watching right now. It shows we got about 130 people. Just send out your prayers and positive intentions for all the people that have lost their life's work. It really breaks my heart, to think about it, because I've always liked to, go and patron the little people, the mom and pop stores and these people that give it a personal touch, and they're in control of their situation. I worked in the corporate world to the point where, honestly, I wouldn't be able to eat because I couldn't stand the energy coming from the corporations that I worked for. It was just, it had no compassion to it, no love to it at all. It was just about greed and everything. So, I've been blessed to be out of that world now for quite a while, and I'm so thankful for it. If we were in the corporate world, Cindy and I, we would actually have a place, probably a nice place. But instead, we're nomads, and so that's okay with us because we're serving a greater purpose, and then you gotta kind of put your money where your mouth is too, so to speak. And what's happened now is so many, countless mom and pops and small businesses have been destroyed, and all we're gonna have is the biggest of the biggest. And soon it'll only be those entities that are owned by the state. That is exactly where we're going. That's all you're going to have. We tried to go to, we drove by, we hate to patronize Walmart, but now, nothing else where we are. We're so far out. You literally have to drive like another hour to go somewhere else. But the lines were so big last week when we went there that we ended up driving somewhere else and paid way more, but it was okay and didn't have as much to choose from. But this is the world that we live in. So, let's send our prayers and best wishes out there to all the mom and pops, and let's send that intention out there that people start to really get together and work around the system instead of being drawn into the system. And one thing that Cindy got was you're going to need ID cards are going to be getting issued very soon.
Yeah, there's going to be to start with, they're going to be like financial cards in the mail for a source of income, for a source of like global income. And with these cards, if you have, we'll call it the treatment or the pinch. I have to be very careful with vocabulary words. It's going to be requiring proof of that for you to have your income, and it's just going to have more and more control. And this is creeping up pretty fast. They're showing me this is in the very near future. Dare I say, even within the next 3 months, we'll start seeing signs of it here and there. So getting as self-sufficient as you can, or even getting with your neighbors and start making a little plans, little pacts. Just do what you can to skirt around things to the best of your ability.
In so many ways, I think this is a waiting game. It's waiting for the world to wake up. It's also hoping for pressure from those above us, because there are beings that really want to help us. They're being held back in many ways, and we don't see all the alliances, all the treaties that are done at a higher level, because there are those out there. There are treaties and alliances and pacts and agreements put in place on a galactic level, that affect what can be done as well.
Right. Well, they really do want to come forward. That came through loud and clear today that the Galactic Federation does want to step forward. They're ready. It's our world governments that realize how much power they're going to lose if they do step forward. So it is like a pushing back and forth, or a tug of war in that sense of the game. It's all a power grab in one form or another. And, in the Vedas, you read about all these beings, being together, and they're aware of each other. It was like that at one point in time, and there was so much more freedom than there is now. And there, personal freedoms, and there was different beings, and it wasn't a huge deal to see, a giant working with a group of, say, humans the size of us. It was just very common. And that's all been stripped away in the name of power and control. But since we are moving into the photon belt, there's more light. These beings are wanting to step forward again. And, hopefully they will. Hopefully it'll turn out well, because I know it'll help us in the near future and in the long run.
Yeah, there's going to be two paths. Everybody's going to have to choose one or the other, and one path will be, going along with everything, and it's going to be easier for you, most definitely. But what are you going to sacrifice? Are you sacrificing your very soul, so to speak? And then there's going to be the hard path, and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take self-sufficiency and resiliency and wherewithal and the ability to endure, because we're going to have to endure. And there was a question there about, debit cards, credit cards, mortgage, things like that. It's going to go to obviously a cashless system, because, that's the way everything is heading. So yeah, it's going to be all done with cards completely. And, cards are the first step. And, if we want to look to what is planned for us in the West, just look to the East, look to China. What you see in China, you're going to see globally. That's been the plan all along, and that's why this whole shift is that way, and that's why there's these elements that want that for all, because it does make it very, very easy for the few to control the many.
Mm-hmm. And UFO to know says, why do they care about the opinions of the elite or the rulers? It does tie into free will. As far as the details, I don't know. I just know that knowing in me knows that it's tied into free will, and there are galactic laws. And thank you, Tensa. Thank you so much for your support. That they have to abide by, and they will abide by. And it seems like our world government, they're taking advantage of this knowing.
And, exactly like what we've been talking about forever has been going on. It's a Machiavellian situation. So, there's humanity, and if you go into this particular country, divided mostly into two camps, and those camps are being set upon each other. There's obviously things coming out that are very wrong, very, very wrong, and things that are shocking people. And then some of us aren't shocked at all. And thank you, JS. We appreciate it so much for your support.
Thank you, JS.
But see, now, like today, right now as we talk, there are some sources are saying hundreds of thousands of people, getting together in D.C., and there have been some clashes. And what's happening is the people being divided into the two camps are basically just going after each other, instead of realizing that the power structure is above the parties. The power structure has controlled the parties, and it's through that left, right, always at each other's throat. That's what keeps us from uniting. And there were interesting and good comments on some of the videos we put out when we were talking about it really does look like Texas may be one of the first states to actually try to secede from the nation. And I always felt it would be the first state, and I always felt like I'd want to be close to there when that time came. because Texans are very independent thinking, for sure. And, I remember as a little kid reading a book about the history of Texas, and just got a lot of respect for it. And that ideal, libertarian type of thought, because government was supposed to be extremely minimal only in times of danger. And that's not what we have at all. So, I was reading those comments, and there was one gentleman that said something like, the right, the Reds, they don't care about the environment. All they care about is oil and fracking and profits. And, there's truth in that. And then there's truth on the other side too, because when you look to the left, typically it's been the party of bigger government, more rules, more regulations. Yeah, getting assistance, but assistance traps us. Again, when we accept things like that, there's always, something you're giving away. So the thing is that there's good points in both parties, there's bad points in both parties. I think it's when we are being forced to just pick a side, just take a side, because when you take a side, then you get into the matrix. It's recognizing that there's more going on than this. And, as right now, there are literally, probably are hundreds of thousands of people that are getting together in D.C., and, we're coming to a real key date, December 14th. And that's one of the things I was going to bring up. This is going to be the Electoral College date, and what else? It's the solar eclipse date at the same time. Again, the billionaires of the world, the elite of the elite, they pay attention to Vedic astrology, and they do things by that. These things are not coincidental. And just look at all the quote-unquote occult symbology we see all over everywhere. DC is completely laid out astrologically.
Yeah, it is.
Completely laid out astrologically. The first bricks, right?
The very first brick that was laid to build the White House was laid using Vedic astrology and the timing. So down to the very minute when they put that brick down, using all Vedic astrology.
And we talked about SCOTUS not listening to the Texas lawsuit, and then now you have Texas really sounding like secession is a possibility. Well, the electors are supposed to get together on the 14th, when we have this eclipse as well. And the question comes into mind, what happens if some don't go by the state rules? Because each one is different when we look at it. You could see some states, like take Arizona, for instance. They have 11 electors. Penalty under law if they don't vote the way that the election said to vote. Well, there's no penalty, but failure to vote as pledged cancels the vote and replaces the elector. So that's curious, some states might not count, basically. We don't know what's going to happen, whether some are going to outright not go along, because judicially nothing's worked as far as trying to look deeper. But some states, that cancels. Failure to vote as pledged cancels the vote and replaces the elector. Some states, there's no penalties at all, like take Arkansas, 6 electors. No penalties, and there's nothing else that would happen. So, if they wanted to vote the opposite way, they apparently could. And if you look at some other states, no penalty in Connecticut, the vote counted as cast. Same thing with Delaware, same thing with D.C., same thing with Florida, same thing with Hawaii. But we see other ones, Indiana, Iowa, and Maine, basically failure to vote as pledged, cancels the vote, replaces the elector. And who decides who replaces them? I don't know. Maybe you guys know. I don't know, but Michigan, for instance, Failure to vote as pledged cancels the vote, replaces the elector. Minnesota, the same thing. Mississippi, wherever they vote, they vote. So they don't really have to go along with what the actual vote said. Nebraska and Nevada, same thing. Failure to vote as pledged cancels the vote, replaces the elector. Same thing with North Carolina, same thing with Oklahoma. Oregon, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vermont, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, whatever the electors choose to vote, it stays at whatever they choose to vote, regardless of what the actual election showed.
Yeah, and they have it so clustered. They have it so chaotic and so confusing to allow loopholes for everything that you could imagine. And they've been building up these laws for years and years and years, like a crescendo, all of this time. And another reason that's so important to not take aside is you understand that they're both working for the same team, for the same goal. It's just things might manifest and unroll differently. So it's really important to be able to stand back and understand that, yeah, this is a show, this is a play. It doesn't mean it's not happening, doesn't mean it's not affecting you. But to get emotionally tied into it is exactly what they want. They want your anger, they want your loosh, they want us all extremely divided. And that's what this is set up to do, is to create division and chaos and confusion.
Fourth Dimension said the Electoral College is nothing more than procedural at this point. I don't know if that's the case, because like I'm saying, these electors, some could choose to vote the other way in some states. Now, like Arizona, the hot ones were Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Arizona, again, if the electors don't vote the way they were supposed to, it cancels the vote and they replace the elector. Now, who decides? Is it the governor? If it's the governor that decides, what if he replaces them with some that are redder? I'm just throwing that out there. There's going to be twists, and the twists are going to boggle our minds for some. Michigan, the same thing. And when we look at Wisconsin, I think that was the same as well. No, Wisconsin, it's NA, so I guess they could vote any way they want. Pennsylvania, same thing. So, that's one thing that could happen. Because, look at what's happening now. Now, there really are states out there that sound like they're talking secession. And we've talked about the Act of 1807. That's another thing that could happen. And that really feels like that's been primed to happen. With the laws that have been put in effect in 2018, again, there was a law about outside interference from other countries. So if it gets tied in that there was some outside interference from other countries, which there's an awful lot of stuff popping out about that right now, then the 1807 Act could happen. And one of the things that's interesting is, that would give federal control over the Navy, which happens to have a ton of assets right now on both coasts like I've never seen before. So it does feel like this could be the final card that comes. And that's kind of like what I'm leaning towards, if the electors, go ahead and basically go along with what the vote showed, then this might be that final trump card.
The final trump card. Yeah, and look at the parallels between the 1807 and now too. There's so many parallels, and how many times is this going to continue to play out? I don't know. We just have to start coming together as one and not be so divided. Like if you look at the politics and say there's a Republican and a Democrat, and they don't even need to really know each other. They don't need to know anything about each other. There's this automatic hatred there. And that is so poisonous and so sick and full of so much cynicism, and they want us to be like that too. Just because we hear maybe our neighbor might be different than us, they want us to just have that automatic hate in our hearts, and we really need to fight against that.
Yeah, we are definitely at a key period, and today is the 12th, guys. The 14th is huge. The 14th is huge, and then on the 21st we have the Great Conjunction, and you can feel the energy already. So we have two pythons that have always gotten along, and they always sleep together. And now they're not sleeping together, and now they actually look cranky towards each other to where I'm going to have to separate them, I think. And they've been together for like 7 years with me. Mm-hmm. And Cindy thinks it's the energies coming in.
I do think it's the opposing energies coming in of Jupiter and Saturn. They're starting to come together, and those energies mix, and then they come toward Earth. And that can create a lot of division and chaos and things being opened up, old hurts, old issues that are being brought to the surface. And I feel that the girls, they are feeling that energy.
I think somebody wants a ding.
Oh, do they? Okay.
And the other thing that's coming out is this. What we got is the left pointing to the right and saying this word, and what we got is the right pointing to the left and saying the same thing. I don't see how this is getting resolved in a unified manner. It's just, there's no way. There's too much division. Which, when we look at it, we're controlled through these huge, large structures. Think about the structures that we see around the world. Think about the UN. We've talked about the agendas that are underfoot as well. The best way is to really break it down to smaller pieces to make it harder for control. So at the same time, somebody else had said, why can't the states govern themselves? Well, that was really the original plan. The states govern themselves, and the federal government was there in case, Great Britain came back or any other country tried to take over territory of the states. Then they would unify, and then also just to regulate trade and get things flowing in an organized manner. But it was never supposed to be this type of massive government. And obviously it seems like it's impossible that the left and the right will ever see eye to eye.
It does. I mean, they've just created this constant division, and it keeps getting wider and wider and wider, and for no purpose either. I mean, just because you wear a certain label. And the beings that rule this world, they're big on labels, because that gets us to put things separate and make things separate instead of being able to bring everything into the oneness that it truly is.
So Cindy's going to bless us with some healing vibrations and cleansing vibrations for a moment.
I am, but I need everyone to think of themselves, to get a really positive image of yourself in your mind eye. And I'm going to do two different things. I'm going to do the DNA repair, and I'm also going to do the 144, which is the DNA repair. It has a tone to it, but the 144 is just a vibration. I'm just wondering if you guys can feel the tone and the vibration. So it's a little bit of an experiment. It's new. So on the count of 3, I'm gonna do 5 dings, okay? And then I'm gonna go to the 144 hertz, okay?
All right. So keep that positive vision in mind as we get our DNA straightened out here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I'm going to do this one is the golden ratio. It makes a pattern. It's what I use on people when I'm repatterning them. So it's just a vibration. It's quiet. I'm curious if anyone out there can feel it. Sorry, Danny.
All right, guys. So hopefully that helps everybody clear the air. Last night when we were doing, we did like 3 or 4 videos, like back to back to back, because things just came out like from friends and family saying, yeah, you saw this, but did you see this? And it's like, oh my God, that happened too. Wow. There's so much going on right now. And then we just timed them to be distributed, a little bit of an interval so people could keep up with things. This is what's going on now, and my God, if we do somehow ride through this wave and you get to inauguration day and you get to the first seating of Congress and stuff, and then you're going to have the left basically saying that 126 members of the right can't do their elected job. And, I don't think we're untangling this. I think that what is going to happen is what we've been saying. It is going to be the great divide, the great splitting up. And again, that's why we started to do that series on where do you want to be? What's good for you? Because I see the comments out there. A lot of people feel like, well, I just want to be where I could be the freest. And that's kind of where we look at it first too. What states, what territories, what places are going to allow you the most personal freedom and which ones aren't. And, because things are going to be rolling out kind of in stages. And we've already seen, certain governors that obviously are going to take a much harder line than others when it comes to enforcing things and not looking at the personal freedoms of the individual.
Right. We've seen that quite a lot, and I'm glad you guys enjoyed that vibration. It's really good for the soul. Just keep holding that positive image of yourself. But yeah, they're really pretty horrible. They are all kind of in for it for themselves. Everyone seems to have an agenda. And personally, my personal most important thing for me is to be able to decide what goes into my body.
Exactly. And both sides look at the other side as being tyrants, this is what's happened is that, it's gotten to the point where, as we said, it's just inconsolable. I saw a comment out there about Fourth Dimension is predicting a Syrian-style war. It seems like it's going to be just a mess. I just think it's going to be a mess. I don't know how to word it any other way. We've gotten lately, like the dreams have not been good. Like last night we were awake most of the night because we both had the same sort of disconcerting dreams, and then we couldn't get back to sleep. And, we just got back to sleep for a few hours, maybe around 7 o'clock before getting up. And, it's just been that way. But I feel, again, these are message dreams. And I do see massive, massive migrations of people going on and just kind of chaos. And, there were comments too, what happened to focusing on the positive? Well, right now, this is what we're faced with. Things are deteriorating really fast. We do want to focus on the positive, and we want to send those prayers and intentions out there and give you guys ways to rise above it. But at the same time, right now, this is go time. It's really happening now, and that's part of what we've gotten. I got that in meditation yesterday. That what I first started to see back when I was 19 years old. This is those times. These are those times, and that came clear.
Yeah, they are. And and it's time to learn to go within, and that's what Michael and I teach. We teach people how to go within, how to find your center, because even if you feel like alone in your family or alone in your little small town, if you could learn to meditate and send out that positive vibration, that's actually going to have an effect on your neighborhood or your little town. Your positive vibrations really, really matter. And that's another thing that they're trying to take away from us. They're trying to take away our quietness and our serenity. So we may not be able to sit and create those positive vibrations. It's all about creating chaos right now.
And I'll let you guys read this, and it's just right there. It's right there. We could see, what's coming again. It's going to be challenging times. And if we look at the clues out there, just glancing at the news, we could see there's other clues out there about, what's going to be coming on down the line.
Right. And, that's all we can do is pick up the hints and the clues and, take them seriously, just be prepared.
Yes, most definitely. It's the time for final preps. As we said, the government warned us a long time ago that you might be without the grid for 6 months. We still feel there's the chance that, between now and the end of the year, you might see some localized blackouts. There could be a lot of different things coming as well. The sun's waking up. Mm-hmm. We did see that. We kind of dodged a bullet. No major issues from that flare that came through with the CME, thankfully. But again, the sun is just getting started. Oh, yeah. So, what's it going to look like? I really feel that we got to try to get through to about 2025. I think that the rockiest parts of our roller coaster are between right now and 2025-ish. I think when we come on the other side of that, then things will start to really come into our favor, humanity's favor, the masses' favor. But we have quite a ride ahead right now, guys.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mike said, the sun is just now waking up and our shields are really low. So that's another thing we got to keep an eye on. And boy, am I really watching this conjunction too. It's going to be a sight to behold. Some people say it might actually look like the Star of Bethlehem. And that's really exciting. It's been over 800 years, and it also is going to bring in a whole new way of living. I mean, it's going from an earth sign to an air sign. So truly it is. It's the age of Aquarius. I'm so excited.
If you're watching, and I plan on doing a bigger update on Monday when the new data comes out about ship placement and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. A lot of military maneuvers. There's very, very weird things going on. So here we see, keep calm, carry on. French official comments on reports UK to deploy Navy to protect fisheries. And, you guys made good comments out there talking about, food, resources. These are going to be the big issues. And I was telling Cindy too, maybe part of why we're going to be nomads for a little bit longer is, there's definitely going to be an economic collapse coming. That's so obvious. There's going to be a massive economic collapse. And even right now, so many people are losing their homes. There's going to be a ton of foreclosures going on, a massive amount. And I bet you anything, there'll be a lot of governmental agencies taking those over. Because personal property, as we said, is going to be a thing of the past. At the same time, there might be an opportunity to get something for those that haven't been able to get something out there. I think you're going to see prices of luxury items crashing and basic goods soaring. So obviously food would be one of the things that's going to end up being one of the most expensive and yet the most important item. And I was telling Cindy this morning after meditation, I think a lot of people are going to have to decide between eating and shelter. there's going to be tough decisions being made by families, and this is where people have to come together. Very close friends of ours that shall remain nameless. Luckily, they were hit with having to make a hard decision because the business where he was working shut down, and what you going to do now? Now there's absolutely no income. And so it was go to, family members in one location in the country, which they don't really want to go to. But then that same day, other friends of ours reached out and said, why don't you come with us? And so, they are. And that way they'll be in a zone that they feel comfortable with. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, friends and family pulling together and recognizing maybe it's your brother, your cousin, or whatever. All of a sudden they're at the point they can't take care of themselves anymore, and it's going to take other people saying, well come with us, and we'll work something out, we'll figure something out, we'll support each other.
Yeah, so that was a beautiful thing that worked out really, really well. But also, at the same time, if you're faced with things that seem not so good, look for the opportunity in it. There's always opportunity for growth, for change, especially if it's something that's not really desirable, or if it appears to be something not so desirable. Look for the opportunity that's being placed before you for growth. So keep that in mind too, moving forward when things start to get a little rough.
And, our friends were always welcome with us, too. It's just that, we don't really have a place
No, we don't.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And so DeGemma says, what if you already own the land outright, no mortgage? Then do you think they'll steal it from us? Only if it's going to be a place where they're maybe going to station the military, something like that. They could claim land in case of a national emergency, which I feel like we will be under in a matter of weeks, if not days. That's just what it feels like. But I would think you would be good, and I think that's ideal. And that's one of the things too. I don't want to take on a mortgage. How many people are not going to be able to pay their mortgage? I mean, unless you are in the system, and being in the system might mean having to get pinched, so to speak. If you guys know, as Danny says, tribes, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be more like tribes again when we get out of this on the other side. And much love, Jeff, as well.
Yeah, so, change is coming up. Energy is being pushed. And I just wanted to make note, one of our family members sent this little timeline thing today. And, it's really curious. It says 1212 indicates our wholeness or activation of our light body, which is really curious because I was just watching Mike do his QiGong yesterday. And he asked me, well, how do I look and how does the light body look? And he had the faintest diamond around his entire body. Usually it's just in his solar plexus and heart, but it was around his entire body. And that was just yesterday. So it's really curious that today, being 12/12, that the light body is activated. And that's really interesting.
It is interesting. And it's evolving much faster than expected. And again, mantras, guys, I believe mantras are the most powerful things. Sanskrit mantras for opening the chakras, keeping the energy flowing, and developing the light body, along with QiGong. QiGong builds and gathers energy, circulates it well. Those two together can really elevate you and speed the ascension process. This one I saw today, as you see, it's pretty ominous because they have been test firing a lot of these hypersonic missiles. Raven knows all about that. I know he was out there too. They did test off of a destroyer yesterday, and now they're doing these sub tests too, because this is something that's been visions that I've seen as well, going back to when I was 19, and it's been something where I'll consistently get this every few years. It'll come through, and let's hope we could change these timelines. I think that is a possibility of changing timelines, but it's going to take waking up more and more people. We have to keep waking up more and more people. What Danny talks about, there is truth to that. as well. I mean, we've seen that, and as Wandering Gypsy says, you know, Cindy has gotten that as well. That there's a lot here, you know, a lot here, and you know that's one of the reasons why I really left Florida, because in my visions I saw them coming up from Florida, and it was clear as day. You know, they were coming up from the Everglades area, and I feel that they were brought over in stages. I feel Venezuela and Cuba, and then also it was coming out yesterday. I'm not sure if I shared it with you guys. More information on basically bases, CCP bases in the Caribbean.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff going on, and a lot of changes, rapid fire for us to deal with and adjust. And, you know, my advice is just to keep your heart center, act out of love, never, ever, ever do anything out of spite, out of vengeance, out of revenge. That never leads to anything good. Hold on to your heart center, because that's what they want to steal from us the most.
They do. Yeah, they definitely do. So, you know, it's imperative for each one of us to, you know, not take up arms against brothers, you know, because, you know, there is a bigger thing going on here. And I think, unfortunately, the anger is directed too much against our own. And it's really the overlying system that is controlling all this and manufacturing this. And again, it's all about keeping our vibes low. Yeah, most definitely, we have a right to be angered at the situation that we find ourselves in, and we can't be quiet about it, but we just have to recognize it for what it is. And I think the best way is to try to get out of the system as much as possible, and again, coming into our own tribes, our own groups. And, you know, that will help tremendously. We are in for a roller coaster ride. The next 9 days or so are going to be really intense, you know, even with what Monday will bring. Either way, no matter what happens on Monday, you know, it's going to just kind of roll up the chaos. And then as we head towards the big conjunction on the 21st, and, you know, the message that I got about the 21st before I really even realized all this stuff was it was the changing of the guard, and that was before I realized it was the Grand Conjunction, and then we found out it was the Grand Conjunction, and there's more going on than that. So yeah, exactly. You know, and the reason why we're having these visions more in the last days is because our DNA is coming together, and these abilities that we had in the past, we were developing them again. We're all going to be intuitive. We're all going to be able to see through things. Well, maybe not if you get a pinch, if you know what I mean. If you get pinched, you know, that's going to slow all that down. But, you know, this is part of the times. This is the biggest part of the times. So, again, we must rise above. And we want to thank everybody for joining us. As always, we thank you also for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon, because we couldn't do it without you guys.
Yeah, really, seriously, thank you so much. We're so grateful for everything you guys do, even the thumbs up, every bit of support. Truly grateful. Thank you. God bless and namaste.
God bless, guys. Namaste.